She laughed and called me Clueless. On a live stream with her friends. I replied in the chat, "Am I?" Then I ended our engagement in the next comment. She panicked, fumbling to stop the live feed. My name is Patrick, and I am 32 years old. I am still kind of reeling from it all, but I also feel weirdly calm. Last night was supposed to be my fiancée Rachel's girls' night. She is 29. We were supposed to be getting married in 6 months. I was at home, just scrolling through social media because I was bored. Her friend, Carolyn, who I have always found to be a bit much, went live. The title of the stream was, "Spilling Tea, Pre-Wedding Shenanigans." Curiosity killed the cat, right? I clicked on it. And there was Rachel, front and center. She had a glass of wine in her hand, and she was laughing her head off with Carolyn and 2 of their other friends, Janet and Maria. At first, it was just generic stuff about wedding stress. They talked about venue deposits and dress fittings. Then Carolyn nudged Rachel. "So, come on. How's Mr. Perfect really holding up with all this? Is he still doing that adorable, heavy sarcasm thing where he double-checks every single spreadsheet?" Rachel snorted. "Oh my God, Patrick. He's so clueless. He thinks this whole wedding is just about ticking boxes, budgets, and timelines. He has no idea about the real stuff." Janet chimed in. "Like how you're planning to educate him on home decor once you're married. Out with the bachelor pad beige!" They all cackled with laughter. It got worse. Rachel was slurring her words slightly. "Honestly, sometimes I think he is more in love with his job and his savings account than he is with me. But it is fine. He's manageable. And he has a good salary, so that will fund the dream house and the dream vacations, once I have trained him up a bit. Obviously, he's whipped, girl. You have got him wrapped around your little finger." "Pretty much," Rachel preened. "He is so predictable, so safe. He would never suspect a thing. He thinks I am just his sweet little angel." She then made a mock angelic face that made my stomach turn. She actually said the words, "He is so clueless." And they all roared with laughter. My blood ran cold. This was not just banter about wedding stress. This was contempt. It was calculating. My chest felt tight. I was not angry, not right then. It was more like a switch had flipped inside my head. It was that cold, clear feeling of, "Oh, so this is what is really happening." I typed in the live chat, under my actual account name. "Am I?" The comments were flying by, but Carolyn saw it. Her eyes widened. "Rachel?" she muttered, pointing to her phone screen. Rachel leaned in, squinting. Her smile froze on her face. Then, she looked purely and completely panicked. Her face went white. "Oh my God, Patrick." I typed again. "Rachel, since you're sharing with everyone, let's be clear. The wedding is off. The engagement is over. You can keep the dream house, funded by someone else. Have a good night." She started fumbling with her phone, desperately trying to end the live stream. Her hands were shaking.
"Carolyn, stop it.
"In the stream." "End it." The last thing I saw before the video cut off was her face. It was a mask of horror. She was staring at her friends, who looked equally stunned. My phone immediately started blowing up with calls and texts. It was Rachel, her mom, and Carolyn. I ignored them all. I blocked Carolyn's number. I turned off my phone. I poured myself a stiff drink and just sat there in the quiet. The engagement ring, a custom piece that we had designed together, felt heavy on the coffee table where I had just placed it. 15 minutes later, my doorbell rang. It was Rachel. Her mascara was streaking down her face. She looked like a complete mess. Her mom Deborah was with her, and she looked furious. "Patrick," Rachel said, her voice cracking. "Patrick, please. It was just a joke. Just stupid girl talk. It didn't mean anything." Deborah stepped forward. "Young man, you have humiliated my daughter over a silly prank. You can't just call off a wedding in a comment section." I looked at Rachel. "Was it a joke when you said I was clueless and manageable? Was it a joke when you said my only value was my salary?" "No."
"I mean, yes."
"Yes, I said it.
But it was the wine.
And Carolyn was egging me on." "You know I love you." I spoke calmly. "I don't think you do, Rachel. And I certainly don't love the person I just saw on that video."
"This is outrageous."
"We have deposits paid, and guests have been invited. You are going to fix this, Patrick?" Rachel is a good girl. She was just letting off some steam. "Deborah, with all due respect, your daughter publicly humiliated me and outlined her plans to use me. The only thing to fix right now is disentangling our lives. The wedding is off. That is final? Rachel started sobbing. My dress, the venue, my friends all saw it. You have ruined everything. I ruined everything. I asked. You did that, Rachel, when you decided to broadcast your true feelings to the world. I told them to leave. Deborah kept screeching about money and her reputation. Rachel just cried. Eventually, they left. My phone is still going wild with messages from her friends. Some of them are angry, and some are confused. I do not feel much of anything. I just feel empty and weirdly resolved. I need to call my lawyer tomorrow. And the venue. And everyone else. This is going to be a mess. But it is better to have a mess now than a disaster of a marriage later. Update 1. Wow, what a fortnight. Thanks for all the messages. Most of you get it. Some of you think I was too harsh. Fair enough, but you were not on the other side of that screen. So, the fallout. Rachel did not take final as the final word. The day after the live stream incident, as I now call it, she and Deborah showed up at my work, my actual office. They caused a scene in the lobby. Rachel was crying, and Deborah was demanding to speak to my boss to make him see sense. Security had to escort them out. My boss, thankfully, is a decent guy. He heard the short version of the story from me later and just said, "Handle your personal life, Patrick, but not in my lobby." It was mortifying. Then came the demands through her newly acquired lawyer, Mr. Samuel. Apparently, I owed her for emotional distress and public humiliation. I also supposedly owed her for all the non-refundable wedding expenses. The sheer audacity of it all. Mr. Samuel sent a letter demanding that I pay her $10,000 for the deposits. Her parents had mostly paid for them, with some contributions from me. He also demanded an additional $5,000 for her suffering. My lawyer, Miss Christine, who is a shark, bless her heart, basically laughed. She sent back a very polite letter. It stated that Rachel had voluntarily and publicly breached the implicit terms of our engagement agreement by, and I quote, publicly defaming and expressing contempt for my client, thereby demonstrating a clear lack of intent to enter into the marriage in good faith. We also pointed out that she was the one who had broadcast her intentions to an audience. The entitlement from Rachel's side is just staggering. She genuinely seems to believe that she did nothing wrong. Her main supporter, Carolyn, has been all over social media. She has been making vague posts about toxic men and how some people can't handle strong women. Lol. Okay, Carolyn. Rachel's dad Gregory actually called me. He has always been a quiet, reasonable guy. He sounded tired. Patrick, son, I know Rachel messed up badly. But it is a disaster. Her mother is beside herself. Can we find some kind of compromise? Some way to lessen the public shame? I told him, respectfully, Gregory, she did not just mess up. She revealed her entire game plan. There is no compromise on that. I am out. He sighed. He said he understood, but that Rachel was in a bad way. Her bad way apparently involves her calling me non-stop from burner numbers. I have blocked so many of them. She leaves voicemails that are tearful, then angry, then pleading. How could you do this to me? Is a common theme. And then the dirty tricks started. They were small things, but telling. My Netflix password got changed. It was a shared account. I have since secured all of my own accounts. Then I got a notification for a bunch of expensive skincare that had been charged to a department store card. I am the primary holder of the card, and she was an authorized user. She had never used it for more than a cup of coffee before. I had forgotten about that one in my initial sweep of my accounts. I called the credit card company and reported the card as stolen. Technically, it was now being used without my authorization. I also disputed the charges. They are investigating. It was over 800 in fancy creams and serums. Like, really? Your life is imploding, and you go on a revenge beauty binge on my dime. Miss Christine is already compiling all of this information, the attempted charges, the harassment at my work, the voicemails. She said it paints a picture of someone who is not acting in good faith. This will be helpful if they actually try to sue me for those deposits. A couple of our mutual friends have reached out to me. Some of them are supportive of me. Others are trying the, she's really sorry, she's just young and dumb, angle. Young, maybe. Dumb, not in the way she meant it. Calculating is the better word. The biggest headache is the venue. They are holding firm on the deposit, which was significant. It was about $8,000. I had paid half of it directly. Rachel's parents had paid the other half. Her lawyer is arguing that I should forfeit my half and also reimburse them for their half, because I unilaterally canceled the wedding. Miss Christine is arguing that Rachel's actions constituted a fundamental breach of our agreement, which made the contract impossible to fulfill under the original pretenses. It is a stalemate for now. It is draining. I am not going to lie. There are moments when I just feel this wave of sadness for the relationship I thought I had. But then I remember her face, laughing with her friends about how clueless I was, and then the calm returns. This is just necessary damage control. Update 2. 2 months later. Alright, buckle up. The situation escalated because of course it did. So, Mr. Samuel, Rachel's lawyer, must have realized that the emotional distress angle was not going to work. This was especially true after Miss Christine sent him a compilation of Rachel's, let's call them, enthusiastic voicemails, and a log of all the block numbers she had used. Not to mention the security report from my office. Their new strategy was pure, unadulterated financial warfare, with a heavy dose of entitlement. First, the venue. They actually tried to sue me for the full cost of the venue, arguing that I was the one who had broken the contract. Miss Christine was ready for them. We countersued for my half of the deposit, citing Rachel's actions as the reason for the cancellation. We also had the saved footage from the live stream, thank you screen recording, and all the chat logs. When Mr. Samuel was made aware that we had undeniable proof of Rachel's statements from before I even commented, including her explicitly stating her financial motivations, he suddenly became much more willing to settle the venue issue. It is funny how that works. In the end, we both lost our deposits. It is annoying, but it is better than paying for the whole damn thing. Rachel's parents were apparently livid that they did not get their money back from me. Then Rachel and Deborah doubled down on the public humiliation and ruined reputation angle. But this time, they got nasty. Someone, and I have my very strong suspicions that it was Carolyn, encouraged by Rachel, started spreading rumors. They were really ugly things. They began messaging my female colleagues and friends of friends on social media. They sent them fabricated stories about me being controlling, emotionally abusive, and even hinted at financial impropriety at my job. They were just vile, baseless accusations designed to wreck my personal and professional life. My boss called me into his office again. This time, he was more concerned. He had received an anonymous email, surprise, surprise, with some of these allegations. I was furious, but I kept my cool. I explained the situation, the live stream, the breakup, the harassment. I said, this is retaliation. It is all baseless. He knows my work ethic. He knows my character. He said that HR would have to do a brief, confidential check due to the nature of the allegations. The financial stuff is a serious issue in my field. It was a stressful week, but thankfully, it was all dismissed as unsubstantiated. The damage to my peace of mind, however, was huge. This was the line. This was the absolute limit. Trashing me to her friends was one thing. Trying to bleed me dry financially was another. But attempting to destroy my career and my reputation with lies. Game on. All gloves were off. Miss Christine was already working on a cease and desist letter for the harassment. After the work rumors, we upgraded. We filed for a restraining order. We cited the stalking behavior at my workplace, the use of burner phones, the financial harassment, the attempted credit card fraud, and now, the defamation. We included sworn affidavits from colleagues who had received the messages, and the anonymous email that was sent to my boss. The hearing was something else. Rachel showed up, looking like butter would not melt in her mouth. She was all teary-eyed and playing the victim. Deborah was there, scowling. Carolyn was there, too, smirking from the back of the room until the judge told her to sit down and be quiet or be removed. Mr. Samuel tried to paint Rachel as the heartbroken, wronged woman. Miss Christine just played a few key snippets from the live stream video. There was the clueless comment, the manageable comment, and the his salary will fund the dream house comment. Then she presented the evidence of the workplace harassment, the attempted credit card fraud, and the sheer volume of calls from blocked numbers. When Miss Christine brought up the anonymous emails and messages that were sent to my colleagues, Rachel actually whispered, "Carolyn, You weren't supposed to. It was loud enough for our side of the courtroom to hear. Mr. Samuel looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. The judge was not impressed with Rachel at all. He lectured her about accountability and the seriousness of making false allegations. He granted the restraining order. Rachel now has to stay 100 yards away from me, my home, and my workplace. There is to be no contact, direct or indirect. That means no more calls, no texts, no social media messages, and critically, no getting her friends to do her dirty work for her. Carolyn looked like she had swallowed a wasp when that part of the order was read out loud. The look on Rachel's face when the restraining order was granted was one of pure shock. It was like she genuinely could not believe that there were consequences for her actions. Deborah was sputtering about appealing the decision. As for the revenge part, it was not about theatrics. It was about precision. The live stream video is saved and backed up in multiple locations. It is a permanent reminder of what she did. It is an instant credibility killer for any victim narrative she tries to spin. The financial cutoff. Beyond the initial card cancellations, I made sure that every single financial entanglement we had was severed. Any joint bills were switched to my name, and her access was removed. Or vice versa, if the bill was predominantly hers. She wanted to be independent. Her wish was granted. The legal shield. The restraining order is ironclad. Any attempt to harass me now will have immediate legal repercussions. Miss Christine also sent Mr. Samuel a very strongly worded letter. It outlined a potential civil action for defamation if any further false statements were made by Rachel or anyone who was demonstrably acting on her behalf. We named Carolyn specifically as a person of interest in that letter, regarding the spreading of rumors. I heard through the grapevine that Carolyn is now terrified of being sued. The social circle cleanup. The friends who tried to defend her or pressure me have been politely but firmly cut off. I do not need that kind of judgment or flying monkey behavior in my life. The friends who supported me, they are gold. The aftermath. Rachel is apparently a mess. Her parents are furious with her for the legal costs and for the restraining order, which is now a public record. The savings for their dream wedding are gone, eaten up by lawyers and lost deposits. I heard that she had to move back in with her parents, because her part-time job does not cover her lifestyle, especially now that my Clueless salary is not in the picture. There was no dramatic, "I hope you learned your lesson" speech from me. There was just the cold, hard reality of her actions hitting her. It was all orchestrated by the legal system that she had inadvertently invoked. She wanted to play games. She found out that I knew the rules better. I am not happy about this. There is a lingering bitterness, sure, but there is also a sense of peace. The constant barrage of messages has stopped. I can finally breathe. I am focusing on my work, my real friends, and rebuilding my life. It will take time to trust someone like that again. But that is a problem for future Patrick. Present Patrick is just glad that the circus has finally left town. Even if I had to legally compel them to pack up their tents. She thought I was clueless. It turns out that she was the one who had no idea what she was getting herself into.